Okay, thank you. Yes, I got stuck on the jumping puzzle too. Um, Luckily, I have solved the jumping puzzle in the past, and I had a save game that was past it. So, in fact, immediately past the jumping puzzle. But can't say I didn't warn you to save beforehand. Um, how are we doing? We got 2 more minutes.
I'll admit, people.
Okay, thank you. Mm-mm.
I've posted a sign now on my computer that says hit record. I was thinking about that yesterday too. Like, I'm going to forget
Yeah.
to record these.
Courses. You are correct. I forgot to edit the reading quiz. Reading quiz 1. Let me edit. Normally quizzes are due, but the first one isn't due till here. I edited this for the 3 o'clock, but forgot to edit it for the 4 o'clock. So let me do that right now. I'm just gonna assignments, reading quiz 1. Oh no, that's okay. The syllabus says Saturday. Okay, if you look at the instructions for reading quiz 1, it says normally quizzes are due by 3 p.m. each Friday, but this first one isn't due until midnight Saturday because of the weird week. See what I'm saying? So normally they'll be due Friday at 3 p.m., but because we only have a 3-day week this week, I'm giving you an extra day. Okay, how we doing? It's 4:01. I am recording. The both yesterday's class and the play session last night are both up on the YouTube channel. Of course, if you're here, you don't need to go watch it. But if you weren't here yesterday, feel free to go to the YouTube channel and watch yesterday's class. Also, I'm happy you guys are making use of the Discord. In fact, right now, let me switch over to 4 p.m. Yep, people are in the Discord. I noticed last night that Tacoma was on Xbox Game Pass. Game Pass is a monthly service that allows you access to whatever's on the service, like Netflix for games. That's kind of what they want it to be. If you have an Xbox, you can subscribe for 1 month. They're always having deals. So for a while there, it was $1 for the first month, and $1 for Tacoma for a month is better than $20 on Steam, right? There's also a PC version of Game Pass, so you might want to look into that. I don't know what their current deals are, but you might be able to get Tacoma cheaper there. Anything else business wise? Reading quiz. The picture is due at 5. So get that up. Honestly, you could probably do it during class right now if you had a stuffed animal and a phone. Okay. So it's very interesting. 4 o'clock, you guys let me see you. 3 o'clock, everybody's scared and turns off their video. I'm excited by all of you who are brave enough to turn on the video. Okay, so let's pick up where we left off yesterday on the syllabus, and then we'll get to Gravity Bone and 30 Flights of Loving. Let me find the syllabus. There we are. There's the syllabus. Okay. So, going down, we talked about D&D. You're basically going to first play D&D, and then you're going to write a D&D adventure. I'll go into more detail when that assignment actually happens. And then the last, third of the class is about alternate reality games. In fact, where's the chat? Let me see the chat. That's weird. Wait. Sorry. Why can't I see the chat window? Alt H. Alt H. No, that's not it. Oh, chat. I don't know. I can't. It's probably one of the 18 windows that I have open. What is that? Oh, okay. Sorry, I can't see the chat. Karen, you're going to have to help me out there. Okay. So the last third of the class is making an alternate reality game. An alternate reality game is normally both in the real world and online. So, for instance, one of the first alternate reality games was called I Love Bees. My chat popped up. I don't know why that popped up. Okay, now I can see the chat. Good. So I Love Bees. There were a whole bunch of puzzles online to solve, and the puzzles always solved to a set of coordinates and a date and a time. And if you looked at those longitude and latitude in a GPS thing like Google Maps, and remember, this was 2003, 2004. Each one, this would not be possible now. The coordinates would point to a payphone, and if you were at that payphone at the date and time that you solved, it would ring. Well, it would ring whether you were there or not, but you knew to be there. And if you picked up that payphone, in many cases, it was a recording of what turned out to be a 12-hour radio drama. It wasn't 12 hours long. It was a 2-minute piece. But sometimes the phone would ring and one of the characters from that radio drama would talk to you. So that was exciting. So it had both an online puzzle component and a place to go in the real world, right? Where you had something to do out in the physical world. Oh, okay. Okay. And what it turned out to be is that every time the players successfully answered one of the payphones, it would record. They would record um, that axon had been activated, right? And essentially, what you were doing, each of those payphones was a nerve, a brain cell in a larger AI that had been damaged in a crash or a time travel incident. And in the end, it all turned out to be that uh, it was an AI like Cortana from Halo, and the whole thing was a marketing thing for Halo 2. So that was exciting. But it has both an online component and a real world component. We're not going to have a real world component this year. That's, that's the way things go. But that's okay, because there are entirely online ARGs that take place on YouTube, in the comments, that take place in various forums, that happen through the communication tools that we use on the internet every day. So it'll be fine. This is where we get to the 2 rules of this class. And so rule number 1, don't get Dean fired. Okay. Every year, it's very possible that during the making and playing of the ARGs, you can do things which would get me fired. I would not like that. And you will fail this class if I get fired. Okay. Usually there's much more laughter during this, but whatever.
We're all muted.
I understand that. So what would get me fired? If one of you were to die, that would probably get me fired. So please don't die. If one of you were injured, if one of you committed a crime, whether if you ask someone to do something that would put them in danger of dying or being injured, or if you ask someone to do a crime for your ARG, all of these things would probably get me fired. Yeah, don't make us do Hunger Games on the other class. Well, so there's part of it is everybody like takes this competition with the other class far too seriously. It's not really a competition. It's a chance to create an experience for the other class. There's no prize for, there's no beating them, right? It's just you make a thing and they experience it and they either like it or they don't. And so you win if they like it, right? That's what you're going for. In the past, I have never been fired for this class. Yes, that includes going to sketchy sites. I have been scolded for things that have happened in this class. So, for instance, one year they were going to put something in the campus newspaper. Do they still have Tech News? Is Tech News still a thing? Yes, it's a website now, right? But did they still publish an actual physical paper? Well, not this year, but yes, they do still publish an actual physical paper. So essentially somebody who worked on the paper was in this class, and they said, I'm going to write an article about there were lights over the camp, over the quad, right, last week, and people who were walking around the quad saw these strange lights in the sky, right? um, and I'll write an article about that for Tech News, and that was on a Friday, and Tech News always came out on a Tuesday, um, so I was like, okay, that sounds great. They told us about it in class, and it sounded fine. No one would, even if people thought it were real, um, strange lights in the sky over the quad was not going to hurt anyone or be any sorts of terrible. Um, so that student went off on that Friday, and then on Tuesday, the newspaper came out, and there was no article about lights over the quad. There was an article about um, uh, a denial of service attack on WPI's network, and NetOps was not sure whether student information had been stolen or not. Um, which is not what we talked about. Um, so uh, it turns out the trustees read the student newspaper. Um, and one of the trustees said there was a denial of service attack, and we might have lost um, student information. And that trustee called the president, who was not Lori Leshin at the time. And the president didn't know anything about it. And so the president called the head of IT. And the head of IT looked at the logs and said, as far as I can see, there was no denial of service attack. I don't know what this is about. The head of IT called the head of NetOps, and the head of NetOps and said, "Are you forging the logs? Did you expunge this? Are you lying in the logs? Was there a denial of service attack? Have we lost information?" The head of NetOps didn't know anything about it. Called the advisor of the student newspaper. The advisor said, "Oh yeah, that's for that crazy class. It's fiction. It's not real." And here's the professor who teaches that class. And then I got a call, and I had to have meetings, and I had to apologize a lot. And now you have to make a web page with a disclaimer that says that this is a game. This is not real. There are no fairies. There are no demons. There are no whatever you end up making the game about. It is a work of fiction. And if you have any questions, contact this email address, which has to be monitored during the entire ARG, so that if there is, say, a parent or a trustee who stumbles over anything that you put up, that they can contact someone who is in the know, and that person will reassure them that it is a work of fiction, and that nothing bad is happening, and they should play the game. So you need to make a disclaimer page. Also, I'm going to preemptively outlaw anything about pandemics in this year's ARGs. No pandemic information, because there is enough misinformation about coronavirus and the pandemic out there, and we don't want to add to it. So we're going to make our ARGs about something light and fun, and hopefully will make people happy instead of give them anxiety, right? And I see a bunch of, yep, that sounds like a good idea. So I always give seeds. So usually I find something, um, some little nugget of something that's really happened to build an ARG around, and I will give you that seed, but it'll be something fun and light, and uh, I'm not saying it's not an intense noir mystery. They're usually kind of conspiracy theory, and I've pushed in the past for comedy ARGs. Um, uh, there was actually there's an island in the river, the river between Worcester and Shrewsbury. What is that? Is that the Mystic River? Um, Whatever river that is, or is it a big lake? I don't even know. That body of water between Shrewsbury and Worcester, there are islands in that body of water, and there was a push by somebody to get one of the islands, Quinsigamon, okay, to get one of the islands in that body of water named Busta Rhymes Island, right? Um, and we looked into it, um, and um, it turned out that a guy who really liked Busta Rhymes um, proposed to his wife there and wanted to get the island named Busta Rhymes Island. So I said, let's make I gave that as the seed, Busta Rhymes Island. In Let's make an arc about that. And I mean, how can you make a conspiracy theory about that? It's, let's name an island after this goofy rapper. Of course, they went through all of Busta Rhymes' lyrics, looking for whatever, and they found all these uh, references to Egyptian stuff, and so they made up a conspiracy theory about um, Egyptian gods trying to come through in Shrewsbury on Busta Rhymes Island, and he was, yeah, I have nothing against Busta Rhymes. Um, um, but they made a conspiracy theory out of it, and demons were coming through, and suddenly we were back with a cult trying to bring in elder gods or whatever. So I was just hoping for, I don't know, a romantic comedy, right? So I'm going to try and pick lighter stuff, and I hope you'll go for a lighter tone this year. That said, I'll talk more later about how we're going to organize everything. You're all going to have a job and a role, and you are all, each of you is going to be responsible for making at least one thing. So this is the first year I'm going to have everybody turn in the thing they made. Because usually I just I play and I say, who made that? And I ask, and I give credit where credit is due. This year, because we're all in our little quarantine holes, I I have to have you turn things in. So, um, I want to show you a calendar. Do I still have the calendar up? Yes, I do. So let's share that and talk about the last week of class at this point, or more or less the last week of class. Um, so the last day of class is Wednesday, May 13th, but the last actual class is Tuesday, May 12th. So uh, the ARG has to go live with what we call a rabbit hole. This is uh, basically, it has to be discoverable by 5 p.m. on Wednesday, May 6th. That means that the ARG will be running from Thursday, May 7th through Monday, May 11th. That's 5 days. So that's 5 days worth of stuff plus the rabbit hole. And we'll talk about rabbit holes. That we call them rabbit holes because of Alice in Wonderland. You go through the rabbit hole into another world of wonder and mystery. Um, so I used to just say make stuff um, for each day and go. And the classes made just tons of stuff. We had giant scope problems. People didn't sleep the entire 5 days. It was terrible. Well, it wasn't terrible. It was a lot of fun. People were having so much fun that they neglected other classes. Um, so I instituted a scoping limit, and that is that aside from the rabbit hole on Wednesday, each day has to have 2 activities and 1 story beat. So what's an activity? Um, Activities can be puzzles, right? And that's what everybody thinks ARGs are. You solve a puzzle, you get some piece of story, or you get a clue to the next thing. And that's fine. That's one thing. But an activity could be just um, take a picture of yourself with a carrot, right? And everybody, if we get enough pictures, if we get 15 pictures, then you will stop a sun from going supernova, right? How, okay, and we either do or we don't, right? Um, we could say record yourself singing this song, right? These are all legitimate interactive activities. Um, and I will talk about many other kinds of activities and or games. You could even make an entire game, right? And say and have people play the game, and when they get to a certain score, the screen they win the game, and the screen comes up that tells them a URL for the next thing, right? Perfectly legit. So the one thing that we're not doing is the real world stuff. And many times, real world stuff consisted of there is a thing at this spot, go find it, right? And we've had entire scavenger hunts all over campus. And that happens in professional ARGs too. This is from an ARG. It's actually quite old. Um, it's from, I don't know if you can, well, I'll hold it up. It is a vial of liquid. Can you see? Vial of liquid. Um, and it says TB on it. And when I got this is, it's kind of orange now, but when I got it, it was bright red. It looked like blood. And in fact, it comes in this little tube with a piece of paper. And it was labeled True Blood, Synthetic Blood. This was from an ARG about the launch of the HBO show True Blood, which was the basic premise was that vampires have always lived among us, and that modern science has synthesized a kind of blood that they can drink. So now they don't have to kill people and drink their blood anymore. They can just drink this true blood. And this piece of paper actually has a puzzle on it. It's right here. And if you solved it, it would lead you to a website where each night for like a week, there would be a woman sitting in a chair answering questions to anybody who tuned in. And the big reveal was that that woman was a vampire. And I believe she kills a guy on camera at a certain point. And that led up to the premiere of True Blood, Suki Stackhouse on HBO. So this was a real thing that you could get. Many of them were sent to people. But the big thing that you do with this is you go, oh my God, look what I found. And then you take pictures of it and you post them on the forums where you hang out and talk about the ARG, right? So you want the people who get the real world thing to be your super users, your very invested people, so that they will then take those pictures and post them online. Because this reaches one person, the picture can reach thousands of people, right? So instead of making a thing and hiding it somewhere and hoping that a player finds it and takes a picture, this year we're going to make things, take our own pictures and post the pictures for players to find and share, right? Same idea. We're just taking the real thing out of the equation. Okay, so the other thing to note, because I'm running out of time and I got to talk about Gravity Bone. The ARG, most ARGs, most big professional ARGs, take months. Because they put a puzzle out there and they wait. And that puzzle sits there. People solve it or they don't. Sometimes a puzzle that makers think is very, very difficult gets solved in hours. Sometimes puzzles that they think they're brain dead easy, they sit there for months unsolved. You guys only have 5 days. In fact, the ARG has to be finishable. That is, everything is up and discoverable by the players by noon on Monday, May 11th. And the big deal here is most ARGs, you get to an end and there's a reveal of some sort, and everybody celebrates the ending. Here, you're going to create an ARG that has a win condition. Okay, so that's mainly because the ARG has to be done by 7 p.m. on Monday, May 11th, so that we can all write about it and get graded on it, right? So in general, you are going to create an ARG that whatever is going to happen is going to happen at 7 p.m. on May 11th, unless the players stop it, right? So if the fairies are going to invade, they're going to do it at 7 p.m. on Monday, May 11th, unless we can get enough fairy dust to drive them off, right? If we do that, then we win, right? And there's a yay, we won. If we don't do that, then at 7 p.m. the fairies invade, and we post the video of everybody screaming as fairies flutter about them, and they're and everybody gets it's a bad ending, but it should still be fun. See what I'm saying? So one year, this was actually the very first year. I have since outlawed zombies because there were too many. But the very first year, if they didn't hack the server of this evil corporation, everybody on campus would turn into a zombie, and we'd be overrun with zombies. And they had rooms full of people, friends, dressed up like zombies, ready to come out at 7 p.m. and wander around campus so that they could take pictures and videos of the entire campus being invaded by zombies. And it looked like they weren't going to do it. And the players were desperate. They were trying to solve the puzzles. They were trying to figure it out. I was on the forum where it was all happening, hitting refresh at 6:45. 7 o'clock rolls around, and I'm like, and I was home at that point, and I was sure that zombies had invaded. It was so close. And then I hit refresh, and I saw that at 6:58, someone had solved the final puzzle and saved us all from a zombie attack. And all the zombie people were terribly disappointed. They just went home. They didn't get to invade campus. On the other hand, what they did do was put out a bunch of boxes of Good and Plenty that had they put like a little label. This is the zombie cure, so that people could pick up little snack boxes of Good and Plenty. Good and Plenty looks like pills, even though it's Good and Plenty. They didn't put out loose Good and Plenty because that would be bad and might get me fired. They put out little boxes of Good and Plenty so that people could eat Good and Plenty. And we were saved. Yay. Great ARG. Okay. So.
Lynches and zombies?
Yes. There are no work accepted after 5 p.m. May 13th. Yes, the rabbit hole is 5 p.m. There are no zombies, pirates, or ninjas allowed in any of the ARGs, and no pandemics. Also, I penalize you if you include, but I don't think it's going to be a problem this year. Another common thing was that Chartwell's was poisoning everyone.
Yeah.
Right. Since no one's on campus, I don't think that's going to be a problem this year. So also don't make an ARG where Chartwell's poisons everyone, especially if you do your job right, everybody will believe it, and that would be bad, right? Yes. So rule number 2. So first one is don't get deemed fired. Rule number 2 is don't be a jerk. And there are lots of ways to be a jerk. Basically, Before you do anything, ask yourself 2 questions. 1, would this get Dean fired? 2, am I being a jerk to someone? Right. Um, so, for instance, um, one guy one year was really good at puzzles. His mother and he had been doing puzzles together since he was a little kid. And the one ARG put out puzzles, and he would just solve them in minutes. Right, he would just bang right through them, and then he sat there in their forum, just posting over and over again, more puzzles. Give me more puzzles. That puzzle was too easy. Give me more puzzles. Give me more puzzles. Right. Such that it became annoying for everyone. Even his fellow players were like, dude, calm down. You only have 2 things every day. There aren't that many puzzles. And then he taunted them that their puzzles were too easy. Of course, he was the only one solving them. Everybody else was like, these are plenty hard. I don't know what he's talking about. And I finally had to say, look, you're being a jerk. Calm down. And so he calmed. Well, he didn't calm down, and then they banned him from the forum, and then he calmed down. So there we go. Don't be a jerk. Don't kill each other. Don't do crimes. Don't get hurt. Don't go out. Period. Stay home. Right. And don't do bad things on the internet, I guess, is the big thing this year. Okay. So I have about 10 minutes to talk about Gravity Bone and 30 Flights of Loving. How'd we like it? Actually, I'm going to stop share and just go to people. How'd we like the games? Thumbs up, thumbs down. It was Wilden. Loved them. Zach's like, Jared's fingers are gigantic because his camera is right next to his keyboard. Short and sweet, yes. I was done with playing them inside of an hour. I think it took me 30 minutes, 40 minutes to play both of them. Given that I had a save past the jumping puzzle. Why did the simplicity throw you off? Explain. Zach says it confused the crap out of him. Okay. There's certainly, well, let's talk about Gravity Bone because that is chronologically the first one. The story was good, but I personally struggled to understand exactly what it was. It was really cool once you put the story together. It took me way too long to figure out how to get out of the first room. Okay, well, controls aside, Gravity Bone is the more gamey of the two, right? You can die. I mean, you die in both of them, right? But you can actually die without completing it in the in the first one, in Gravity Bone. I like the Gravity Bone spy missions, but that jumping puzzle forced me to watch the rest elsewhere. Yeah, the jumping puzzle is terrible. Those of you who I've done it, but I didn't do it last night. I went to a save. Okay, so Gravity Bone. What happens at the end? what happens at the end of Gravity Bone? You complete, and if anyone wants to unmute yourself, I'm okay with that. Can you unmute yourself? Somebody try to unmute yourself.
Hi.
Hi, Zach.
Ah,
What happens at the end of Gravity Bone?
Testing.
You basically get chased down, so this assassin lady shoots you, and
Yeah.
you chase her, and then she shoots you into a highway, at which point it kind of cuts. So it's kind of assumed you die. Or at least that's what I remember.
Okay. Somebody else want to take a shot at the end of Gravity Bone? Because it's very easy. I do this all the time. I get the two of them confused, right? Because you die at the end of both of them, right? It's like Eon Flux that way. You guys don't remember Eon Flux, but it was an MTV cartoon where a spy does this amazing mission and dies at the end of every episode. The lady shoots you, right? And you're up on a platform and you start falling, right? At the end of Gravity Bone. And then Suyi says there were a lot of flashbacks, but I didn't see the lady at any of the flashbacks. You are correct. There are a lot of flashbacks as you're falling, right? As in, it's a kind of a cliche that when you die, your whole life flashes before you, right? So that's kind of what's happening at the end of Gravity Bone is you're seeing flashes from your life. Maybe. Does anybody remember the flashes? Should I pull here? Let's see if I can find it.
One of the flashes was you're kind of in this car chase going, and there's some guys next to you shooting you across the highway.
Maybe. Honestly, okay. Let's see if I can. Okay, I think I'm gonna share screen. Zoom. Let's watch it. Share screen. There. Share. I think this. Okay, we got. Looks like a car at a posh. Oh, the car blew up. Car blowed up. Okay, you're right. There's a car chase. People are shooting at you. You're shooting at them. Continue falling. That was just a lady's face. And erase. And note the number is 99. And I believe that's a woman, right? Is that a woman? And that's it. So I'm gonna stop share. So is that the woman who shot you? I'm not sure. I don't know. Part of me wants to think when I first saw it, I was like, hey, who says I'm a dude? Right? There's no mirrors in this game. Maybe that's me. When you die, one of the sayings is your race is over. Right? Maybe that's the end of my race, and I'm Agent 99. Because I win the race. Emily says it looks kind of like Anita. Maybe. I think Anita is more of a blonde. I'll share again. We'll check it out again. Nope. Nope. Too far. There. I think here, let's go find Anita. There's Anita. Oh, maybe it is Anita. You're right. That could be Anita. Could be. They're different characters in each game. You mean the person I'm playing are different characters? Or that the race that's being the runner in the race is a different character in each game? Yes. The character that I'm playing is a different character in each game. Yeah, I believe that. Because I died in Gravity Bone. 30 Flights of Loving is a heist, right? I don't have, I'm actually out of time. It's a heist. I just want to leave you with this. Is it interactive? Is it a game? Is it a game? If it plays out exactly the same every time you play it? Did you make any choices? Did you change anything? I think Anita's hair is shorter and less curly than the girl who shot you in Gravity Bone. Probably. I'm not sure that it's Anita. Could be. So if it's not, if the story plays out, if the scenes play out the same every time, yeah, Stan says, I don't think anything changes in the story. I think you're right. As a person who has played both of these probably 10 times at this point, they play out exactly the same. No meaningful choices. I would say it is an interactive story, not a game. I would vote that it's a game in the way a walking sim is a game. Okay. Think about that. I will be showing Witness on Friday, tomorrow night at 8 p.m. I will send out a link to a Zoom room to everyone because both classes can come. Pop some popcorn for 8 o'clock tomorrow night and watch Witness. If you can't do it tomorrow night at 8, you can rent Witness on Amazon. And we'll talk more about this tomorrow, and have the poetics read for tomorrow. They're not very long. They're just very Aristotle-y. It's free on Tubi. You can Google it. Okay. Thank you, Zach. I'm trying to make it available too, so I'm going to push the play button tomorrow. Okay. So have a good Thursday night. Get your pictures with your 2-sentence story in. You still have 8 minutes. And I will see you tomorrow. Good night.